All right, let's play a little fantasy football. Maybe some people we should drop, maybe some we should pick up, and some we really need to consider. Now, the Buffalo Bills have a little time off, but you got to consider how bad the concussion for Trent Edwards is. And if it's bad enough to miss a game, you may have to think about sitting him down in a couple weeks, depending on the progress. See, this NFL's taking concussions a lot more serious than they ever have in the past. Used to be you get a concussion, go to the sidelines, get some sniffing salts, smelling salts, and put them back on the field. They're going to monitor that situation closely, so keep an eye on Buffalo about the Trent Edwards situation. If, in fact, you might want to now, if you don't have him, snag J.P. Lossman just in case. Buffalo is a good team. They got hammered by Arizona, but they know how to throw it, know how to make the big play. And remember, Lossman was the previous starter. You might want to think about adding him to your roster just in case. A drop, you got to obviously Deion Branch, anybody else who's injured, but Branch comes back. He's hurt again, and so Deion Branch may be back on the sidelines. If you had him, you might want to sit him down and put somebody else in there because it doesn't look like he's going to be ready to go this weekend when Seattle tees it up after being out. He's back in, now back out with another injury. And how about John Kitna? Got benched, coach's decision, and with the way the Lions are playing, maybe, just maybe, it's time. And think about Dan Orlovsky, number one. Dan Orlovsky, who's the quarterback there, the backup, but also Drew Stanton in the back of your mind, the former quarterback from Michigan State, big-time arm. They may say we need to overhaul the whole thing and let's start with all kinds of young guys. They're even talking about trading Roy Williams, the wide receiver. There's been those whispers. So keep the whole Detroit team in mind. Detroit's got to do something to get things going or coaches are going to lose their jobs. So Kitna may be out. Orlovsky and or Drew Stanton as the quarterbacks. Those are guys to look at. A couple guys I really want you to look at too. Rashid Davis in Chicago. Little slot guy, make things happen. Had I believe six catches last week for almost 100 yards. Great run after the catch, and it looks to me like Ron Turner, the offensive coordinator, has opened things up a little bit. Matt Forte has caused that, the running back. Rashid Davis might be a good third receiver to have on your team because he's kind of hidden, and there's no special receiver on Chicago as far as, oh my gosh, when Hester gets the ball in his hands, that's one thing. But Rashid Davis can work out of the slot, and Kyle Orton's on a mini roll here with 2 games in a row, pushing the ball, throwing for over 300 yards, and a couple weeks ago, 3 touchdowns. I mean, they're starting to add up, and Chicago looks more aggressive. Rashid Davis may be a guy. Another one, Dominic Hickson. Now Plex is going to come back, but Hickson is a good keep him. This is a big-time future player and also come up big last week and will continue. This guy can play. This guy's got skills. He can run. He can do it all, and he knows how to go get the football. And I want a guy on my fantasy team who knows how to go get it. And Eli and the Giants, I'm telling you, I believe the Giants can beat anybody in the NFL right now. I do. And Hickson is a great add to your football team. Obviously, you mentioned J.P. Lossman and one other one, and I'm sure a lot of people already have him. But with the way fantasy is at this point in the season, people are losing, scrambling, trying to make a trade for another back. Darren Sproles is a great get. He's doing exactly what Michael Turner did when he was in San Diego as a backup. When Sproles comes in, good things happen. Plus, you got that add of the special teams. If you don't have Sproles and he's dangling out there in your league, grab him. Grab him because he just is a great spot player and a guy that you don't want to let somebody else have because especially if you're in some kind of keeper league out there, don't be surprised if Sproles is a guy that you should be picked up and kept. This is a big-time player, and someday he may be a starter. Not real big, but I'm telling you, he, like Michael Turner, wasn't real big either, and he's at the top of the league in rushing. So those are some guys to take a look at and keep an eye on those injuries and the hampering injuries that may not let a player play to his full effect. I'll give you one other key in fantasy football that I don't think enough people look at. A lot of times you look at the opponent, who your team's playing, and can Peyton Manning throw for 350 yards against the Texans. I want you to do yourself a favor and look up the background or look up the habits and the play-calling habits of a head coach and an offensive coordinator. And here's why. Because and sometimes a defensive coordinator, if you've got a blitzing defense like Philadelphia and you've got a good receiver and you know your offensive line's good, you're setting up for some big plays. And offensively, if you got Mike Martz and J.T. O'Sullivan or one of those guys at 49, Mike Martz he doesn't care if he's up by 30, he's still going to attack. So look at guys who are so aggressive and keep an eye on offensive coordinators and head coaches that want, like when Brian Billick was playing. Brian Billick wanted to score 600 points during a season. I mean, he was my coach. These guys that want to attack all the time. Then on the other side, you look at a guy like Jeff Fisher, who, and Mike Heimerdinger, his offensive coordinator, once they get a lead, they want to pound it out and guard the football and hand it off, and that's just him. He plays defensive, offensive football. Defensive football meaning keep it close, we'll do our thing, and our game plan's not changing. We like to run it and play defense and make sure that we can put the game away in the end. So you watch those guys closely. And then a guy like Andy Reid and Marty Morningwig, his offensive coordinator in Philly, they want to throw all the time, and they're the best screen team. So start studying coordinators and their philosophy when they're up by And it's, look them up. Take up 20 games of their last 20 games and look at situations. If you really want to get deep into your fantasy league, offensive coordinators' game plan and the way they approach it will help you greatly. And right now, at this time of the season, some of you aren't winning games and some of you are. This is a time where a game or two, depending on who the coordinator is, not just the player, but the coordinator, may take you over the top and get you a couple victories. We'll be right here talking fantasy next Tuesday.
So you think you can tackle a pro? There's only one way to find out. Click on fantasy at opensports.com.